Welcome to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.
Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies here at RacineSportsZone.com. Steve Sparky Fifer, along with Gary Wolfel of the RacineSportsZone.com and Racine Journal Times. Let's talk a little bit about the Milwaukee Bucks basketball team that appears to be imploding again. I got to tell you
what, I was keeping track. 16 seconds into the show, and you come out ripping about them imploding.
Yeah.
I was wondering, my over-under was 18 seconds.
Well, this was such a great locker room at the beginning of the year. One of the best locker rooms ever. Gary always on the big show. Boy, there's something different about this team. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever.
I agree.
Yeah, you agree. Good. Well, somebody needs to...
Apple. Remember that Michael Jackson song?
I don't think it's one bad apple.
Oh, I do.
No, I don't.
I do.
I'll tell you right now, losing takes a toll on any team. Regardless of how strong your guys are, losing takes a toll. Then you add not playing into the mix. When you're a veteran player, you're on a losing team, and you're not getting any minutes, like Gary Neal, like Caron Butler, like, Luke Ridnour, but now he's starting. But like those guys, yeah, losing's going to take a toll, and the fact that you're not playing, it takes even a bigger toll. And then all of a sudden, attitudes start to change, things start to change, and all of a sudden, that locker room that was so great before the year started when there was no record, now all of a sudden it can become a very bad locker room. I've said it before,
I
say it again.
I just feel it. It's not a very bad locker room. There's a couple of individuals.
I'm not saying right now.
I don't think a locker room.
I'm saying you're going down that path as you go forward. If I am John Hammond, I want these veterans moved quickly. I do not want them influencing my young players. Now look, Larry Sanders and Gary Neal get into it as the story goes, right? Gary Neal and him have their words. Gary Neal, apparently, according to Associated Press writer in Phoenix, said to Larry Sanders, "I earn my money. You should try it sometime." Okay?
That's what I say about you all the time.
Well, a lot of people say it about me. It's okay.
What's unusual about that?
Nothing at all. But see, this is the thing. If I'm Larry Drew or John Hammond,
yes,
pull Larry Sanders aside. Come here. Come here and sit down. That was
Steve.
I know you don't like Larry Sanders.
I like Larry Sanders as a person. I don't like him with his immature, childish behavior.
Okay, right. Calling out a veteran, right? That's the problem.
No.
Calling out a veteran who doesn't pass the basketball ever and only shoots threes. That guy, Gary Neal, the great Gary Neal, who hasn't done jack crap on this team all year. That guy, hold on one second.
I didn't know that Larry Sanders became the general manager and coach, and he reprimands other guys.
Right, now see, this is where the issue is. Because the veteran old players don't want to hear from some young guy about them not hustling. They'd rather not hustle on their own and be left alone, because that's how it is in the NBA. Veterans don't have to play hard all the time. They can take plays off, and they don't have to bust their rear end.
So Larry Sanders busts his butt off and plays hard every game?
When I'm watching the game, it appears he plays hard, most of the time.
Yeah, those 2 rebounds he collected the other night were all effort.
Fair enough. No, I agree. But this is my point on Larry Sanders. If I'm John Hammond, I pull Larry aside and go, look, I get you want to be a leader on this team. And again, the nightclub thing, as far as the leader thing, right out the window. But let's just say that's what he wants to do, okay? Larry, I don't want you talking to my veteran players. I don't. Just shut up. This is what I want. You want to be a veteran to Giannis, to John Henson, to Nate Walters, go ahead. Have at it. You want to go after them, fine. These guys, other guys, Butler, Ridnour, Zaza, Neal, those guys, whoop, throw it out. Number one, they're not going to be here anyhow. Number two, they're not going to listen to you. So it doesn't really matter what you got to say.
And number 3, Larry Sanders will probably be traded before they're gone.
I don't know.
Oh, trust me on that one. If
they're going to have to fight a trading party.
Exactly. And
if they trade them and don't get value back, they're going to get ripped.
Not from this scribe.
From this radio host, they will.
No,
if you trade them for a bag of balls, I'm going to go crazy.
I think whoever gave up the bag of balls would be giving up too much. I mean, to me, it's like John Hammond did a nice job of house cleaning. He got rid of basically every bad act on their team.
That he brought in.
that he brought in.
Make sure to point that out.
Yeah.
So he got rid of everybody that he brought in that screwed it up. So now he brought in another cast of characters. We do this every year.
Yeah,
every
other year.
He brings in bad guys, then we get rid of bad guys. Then he brings in bad guys, and we get rid of bad guys. Okay, so we do that every year. So now he's got a bunch of good guys on this team. Butler's a good guy. Ridnour's a good guy. I haven't heard anything bad about Zaza. So for the most part,
Zaza's a great guy.
Right. So for the most part, he's got a bunch of good guys on this team.
But my point was he didn't finish the house cleaning. He knew about Sanders. He knew about Sanders' past. The whole league knows about Sanders' past. And yet they go out and give him a $44 million extension. And the rest of the league was like, what? What are they doing? This organization has made blunder after blunder as far as giving out money. And this is the latest one. And I'll tell you what, they got to cut their losses right away. You can't go forward with a guy that's so unstable.
They gave dumb money to Urson. They gave dumb money to Larry Sanders. They gave dumb money to John Selmans. They gave dumb money to Drew Gooden. That's all Hammond. Look, the one thing Hammond does well is draft, right? I'd say he's done that fairly well.
He's done a very nice job,
okay?
yeah.
I have no issue with him drafting.
Right.
He has no idea about free agency, and his trades have been horrible. Now, the Brandon Knight-Jennings trade may end up being pretty good because Middleton's been way better than anybody thought.
And you're not even talking about Brandon Knight. I love this, how everybody is just like blowing off what Brandon Knight has done already this season.
Been inconsistent. We've had this
come on.
Yes.
Where he was at the beginning of the year with his hamstring issues, he did not look
He
good.
did have hamstring issues.
The last 2 to 3 weeks, he has looked really good. He's had a bad game in between, but everybody's going to have bad games.
Sure.
I mean, Damian Lillard is as good a guard as you'll find.
Yep.
He has 2 for 12 nights. You know what I mean? So what he has done in the last 2-3 weeks to me has just been very impressive. His growth is there.
Do you believe they think he's a point guard?
Yeah, I do.
Then why is Ridnour out there in that battle?
Yeah, you know what? I like that idea, though, where you have – go back to the Bulls when they had Ron Harper and Paxson and those guys. They didn't really have a true point guard. It was like whoever had the ball would just run the offense.
I just asked you if you thought Brandon Knight was a point guard.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, if you think he's a point guard, then why isn't he playing point guard and having Mayo with the two? Because if you don't want Giannis in the two, which you don't, which I was fine with, but if you don't want that, then Mayo should be the starting two guard.
Bucks agree Giannis isn't either, because as soon as they tweeted out, the next game they moved him back to small forward.
I understand that.
You know?
And Giannis' true position is small forward. And I don't disagree with you there. But my problem is Chris Middleton was playing his tail end off at small forward, and since you've done that, you've cut his minutes in half, which everybody told me it wasn't going to happen, Sparky. Don't worry about it. You cut his minutes in half, and his production has gone into the toilet because you screwed with him. And again, it was absolutely horrible. I don't care if you screw with Butler. I don't care if you screw with Mayo. That was more wasted money. I don't care if you screw with Mayo. I don't care if you screw with Ridnour, Zaza. Do not care. Do not screw with guys that are going to be on this team going forward. I don't want you screwing with Henson. I don't want you screwing with Giannis. And I don't want you screwing with Middleton. And Walter should be playing more.
I agree with that. Where I absolutely lost the other night was when he opened up with Ridnour and Knight, okay? So all of a sudden you come off the bench with Gary Neal playing the point guard. And then afterwards somebody asked him about Gary Neal, being a point guard, and Larry Drew said, yeah, he's a point guard, or you can't play point guard. He was horrible. He had 2 turnovers in like about a 3-minute span right off the bat. To me, it's like if you're going to bring in a point guard that
it's got to be Walters.
It's got to be Walters, absolutely.
And he's a true point guard.
But again, they should go back to what they originally did with Knight and O.J. Mayo and go with that and then bring those other guys off the bench.
I think the issue is effort with Mayo.
It could be, and that's baffling.
That if you're not giving me effort and energy every night, I can't have you in my starting lineup. Maybe that's what they think. Mayo lost the starting job in Memphis, too. He ended up coming off the bench.
Well, yeah, but he also went to Dallas and played for Rick Carlisle, who's one of the best coaches in the league, and was the starter every game. So
true, and then Dallas said it's been real. We're going to sign Monte Ellis.
So they bring in Monte Ellis, yeah.
That tells you how good OJ Mayo stacks up when they decided to sign Monte Ellis over OJ Mayo. That tells you all you need to know. You don't need to know anything more than that.
What's really unbelievable, I don't know if you read hoopshype.com, but they had a little segment on the other day, the 5 best shooting guards in the NBA. I'm telling you, there's not a lot of good shooting guards. You'd think there'd be a lot.
It used to be a great position.
But you get past like 5. I think DeMar DeRozan was like number 4, number 5. That tells you
All you
the
need to know.
state of the shooting guard position in the NBA today.
Yep. No, it's not a good position at all. So the Bucks lose 2 out of 3 on that road trip. Now they come home. I look at the
Come home to the Warriors,
Listen,
the hottest team in the NBA.
Right, I mean, you got the Bulls coming up, but
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the rest of their schedule here for the next couple of weeks. I don't think they can win a game.
Well, I don't know if you realize this, but their first 2 months, they had basically one of the easiest schedules in the NBA. Not anymore. So from your perspective, this is good.
Absolutely.
You know, so they're going to be on the way. But you know what's scary, though? That you can start to see some teams around the league now, they're saying, okay, we played a couple months, we were competitive, now we're going full tank mode.
Right.
You look at some of those teams, they're losing, and they're losing badly already. And it's not even half the season. So, I mean, as bad as the Bucks are, there's no assurance they're going to be like the 1, 2, 3 worst team in the league.
And that has to be the goal. The goal has to be...
They have to be at least the second worst team.
Second or third worst team.
Remember what happened with that one time when they were the third worst team with Larry Harris as the GM? Poor Larry, they go to the lottery and he ends up with the 6th pick.
And if they were instead of 3, they would have had Al Horford.
Al Horford. I mean, you don't think the fortunes of the Bucks might have changed then?
No question. You had Horford at the 4 and Bogut at the 5.
Right.
Much different. No question.
You would have had probably the best tandem up front in the NBA.
Yep. Here's Gary Wolf of the Racine Journal Times. Steve Sparky Fifer with you from the Wendy's Big Show on Sports Radio 1250 WSSP. That'll do it for another edition of Sports Junkies. We'll talk to you next time here at
You've been
Racine
watching too much Bucks
Sports
basketball.
Zone.
Turnover,
Dot
Fifer.
com.